Welcome to your first hearing before the Subcommittee, Administrator Wheeler, and congratulations on your confirmation as the 15th Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you and your Chief Financial Officer, Holly Greaves, for being here to discuss the administration's fiscal 2020 EPA budget proposal. It's great to have a fellow Buckeye join us. Mr. Wheeler, I applaud your work as acting administrator and now as administrator. You've identified agency efficiencies, advanced common sense reforms, and reduced regulatory burdens to spur economic growth. You have simultaneously prioritized EPA's core mission to protect the public health and the environment. In 2018, you led EPA's efforts to clean up more than 24 Superfund sites and remove them from the national priority list, reduce greenhouse gas emissions from major industrial sources, and made strides to address the nation's enormous water infrastructure backlog by completing construction loans totaling more than $2 billion. We look forward to working with you to continue advancing such reforms while remaining good stewards of our environmental resources. We must also ensure that the federal government, along with our state and tribal partners, has enough resources in place to continue protecting and preserving our natural resources. The fiscal year 2020 budget proposal for the EPA is $6.07 billion, which is $2 billion or 25% below the base fiscal year 2019 enacted level. As such, it is disproportionately deeper cut than the 9% non-defense discretionary cut mandated under the current law. In places, many of my colleagues and I generally agree with the deeper cuts were necessary to continue to scale back the federal government's regulatory overreach. But I suspect I am joined by many colleagues on both sides of the aisle in disagreeing with proposed cuts to partnerships and programs that help states and tribes meet federal mandates. Since coming to Congress on behalf of Ohio's 14th District, I've never been shy about my strong support for the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are an invaluable natural resource, a true national treasure, and an economic powerhouse, so it remains of utmost importance to preserve and protect them for future generations. The Great Lakes directly support over 1.5 million jobs, holds 90% of our nation's fresh water, and generates $62 billion in annual wages. That is why the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is so essential to address the most persistent and challenging issue, like invasive species, toxic substances, and non-point source pollution that threaten those resources. However, the administration's request for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, a $270 million or 90% reduction from fiscal year 2019 enacted level, falls well short of the necessary funding level to achieve those ends. Consistent with years past, you can be assured that I will work tirelessly with Chair McCollum to provide full GLRI funding. I also look forward to you clarifying the administration's desired funding level for the fiscal year 2020 in light of the President's supportive remarks just last week. In addition to the GLRI, the budget proposes reducing or terminating all other geographic programs, the popular Rural Water Technical Assistance Grants, the National Estuary Program, infrastructure assistance to Alaska Native villages, and a number of other important programs. Similarly, the proposed 30% reduction in the EPA's research funding poses an issue. EPA's research plays a decisive role in studying PFAS and other potentially drinking water contaminants, harmful algal blooms, and other public health research initiatives. Despite these concerns, I was pleased to see that the administration continues to prioritize water quality infrastructure because these remain of utmost concern to my constituents and me. The request provides nearly $2 billion for the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Funds, $83 million for new grant programs authorized under the America Water Infrastructure Act, and $25 million for the WIFIA program. Given the leveraging capacity of the WIFIA program and the revolving nature of the SRFs, the request could spur billions of dollars in water infrastructure investments and help create construction jobs in every state. The request also includes more than $1 billion for the Superfund program to accelerate the pace of cleanups and return sites to beneficial use and economic development. This includes $472 million specifically for the remedial program to tackle the 13,000-plus sites on the Superfund National Priorities list. Lastly, I look forward to hearing about the agency's PFAS action plan, ongoing work to update the lead and copper rule, and proposed $50 million Healthy Schools Grant program to address potential gaps in school environment health. With that, Administrator Wheeler, thank you for being here. I look forward to your testimony and thoughtful discussion ahead of us. I yield back.